How's everybody doing? My name's Mark Lang. I joined a couple months ago and I haven't had a face-to-face. I tried to make it tonight, but I couldn't make it. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I'm pretty new.
Well, good evening to you. This is Lou McFadden, W5DID.
Whiskey Oscar 4, Mike Lima. And I haven't talked on the radio yet, so.
Welcome from November Fox to Fox.
Got plenty
Good
of time.
evening, Mark from N2QGV.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
sit here and eat Tootsie Rolls.
I'm trying to figure out how to make it show my call sign.
Some of them have them, some of them don't. Yeah, I like to know how to do that too. That'd be pretty.
Somewhere he's got my name, so
Do a right click, and at the very bottom, you'll see rename. And
I
I'll
don't
let you
think-
go in and rename it.
my computer doesn't have a right click.
Oh, your mouse?
There's no mouse.
Oh,
My finger. Let's see. Move to this.
nice shorts, John. You think it's summer?
Well, you guys should be up here in Mass. We had ice this morning.
That's why we're not there.
I have a friend from New Bedford who lives down here. I used to tell him that, and he would tell me, "Sir, is your rightful living there?"
I lived in Rhode Island for a couple of years. I got enough of that.
I keep telling everybody, I hope we get a foot of snow.
I hope you do too.
I'm glad
not
I'm out
here.
of upstate New York.
Not here. I was raised in Oklahoma, so I got a lot of snow. More not enough to cover my whole lifetime.
Yeah, Lou, I wasn't aware you lived in Rhode Island for a while, especially with that accent you got.
Well, I lived there while I was stationed in the Navy at Quonset Point.
Hmm.
Actually, I enjoyed everything about the place except the weather.
Well, it's one of those places that they say, wait 5 minutes, it'll change.
Yeah, the people were nice to be around, and they were courteous. They treated us all well. So I don't have any complaints. But I went down to Easton Beach and that was so cold. I couldn't put more than my foot in.
The warmest the weather used to get there was like 68 degrees on the ocean there. So
Yeah. I'm sure there's a way to edit your name, but I don't see how to do it.
Lou, it's
Go to-
either up at the top of your monitor or at the bottom of your monitor. You
Go to
should
your
come up with
picture.
your control.
Go to your
And you-
picture, right click on your picture, and you'll get a list of ones to edit the name.
There's no right click on this computer.
I got next to You on the top right, there's 3 dots. I just clicked the 3 dots and it came up renamed. So maybe that's it.
He's
We'll
mouseless.
try it. Oh, okay. That's right.
Let's see.
I think I might have had it here. Let me see. Oh, there it goes. All right.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like the dual monitor idea.
All right, can everybody hear me on Zoom?
We hear you.
All right,
Yep.
it always helps with the having the right microphone selected. All right, we're gonna get started. And as I was saying here to everybody in the room, but apparently you guys on Zoom wasn't able to hear me. Good evening and welcome to the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, January 5th, 2022 meeting. If everybody it's here, we'll stand and we'll say the pledge. You guys at home, if you can join us. Start out with pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
States of America and to
Sorry, I was getting a little bit of a little close to the speaker and it was loud in my ear there for a second. Okay, let me go around real quick to the board members that are here. So they can do we'll do introductions. Let's see, Michael is behind the monitor over here. Michael is the vice president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club, and also he is the general chairman for Orlando Hamcation. Anna and Dean, Anna Grow and Dean Grow are on the way. They're running a little bit behind. Bob Nocero. Oh, there you are, Bob Nocero. He's our club secretary. James Dool and Bob Cummings right here behind the table. Both of these guys are directors. Frank Gergitz, are you online? Wasn't sure if he was online. Frank Gergitz is also one of our directors. And Ed Thralls, Ed is right back behind me or behind you guys. And he is also one of our directors. And then Frank Tagalani, I think Frank was on Zoom.
Yes, I'm here. Good
Yep,
evening,
Frank's on
everybody.
Zoom. Frank is also one of our directors. So I always like to introduce our officers and directors for the club. Do we have any guests? Anybody that's for the first time here for OARC meeting? Just want to stand up and just say what your name and your call sign is. Introduce yourself. Ben's coming from us from California. He's in town. He escaped from California. So welcome.
Oh,
Tonight we had, was it 21, 20, 23 people that took the test tonight. And out of the 23, I think it was 22 passed. So congratulations to those guys. If you're here tonight, congratulations. If you might be watching later on YouTube, congratulations on getting your ticket. If you are new to amateur radio and getting your technician license, hopefully that will be provided to you by the FCC as early as maybe tomorrow, if not the next day. If you guys did upgrades, congratulations on those upgrades also. With that, I just also want to mention this is the first test session we did totally electronic, no paper involved at all. As far as I know, it went out without a hitch. 95% good. So got a couple of little things to work on, but after, the first time doing it and plus having 23 people doing the test was amazing. So glad it went well. First of all, I also want to say Happy New Year to everybody. Also, I mentioned in the newsletter that we are looking for more VEs. What we're trying to do is pull together VEs in the area that would become available for test sessions. Not every single test session. We understand that you're not going to be able to do every single one, but the larger the pool that we have, then we can easily accommodate different test sessions, either here for OERC, for Lamar's, for Orange County Aries, or other little test sessions that pop up. So if you are interested, if you're already a VE, or if you're interested in becoming a VE, I ask that you send an email to testing@oarc.org, and Bob and Aaron will get that email, and they can give you all the details on how to become a VE if you're not one, or if you are a credentialed VE, they'll be more than happy to get you signed up. So we're just trying to make this easy to send one email out to a bunch of VEs at one time and say, we have a test session coming up on this date. Who's available to help? Okay. We understand that not everybody's going to be available all test sessions. That's fine. But if you can help out as much as you can, it'd be greatly appreciated. Okay. So also I wanted real quick, and I'm going to give the floor to Michael so Michael can talk about Hamcation coming up, since it's a little event coming up very close. Real quick, I just want to say the Christmas party. Again, a huge thank you goes out to both Anna and Christy for putting on a great event. Everybody had a great time. We had over 100 people in attendance for the Christmas party again this year. We are still waiting for the grand prize. I'm sorry to say we haven't gotten it yet, but we are going to get it. Don't worry. If I have to get it from somewhere else, I'll get it. So, but it's supposed to be, it should be coming soon. ICOM is actually air freighting merchandise from Japan over to the United States because things on boats aren't coming very quickly. So hopefully we'll have that soon. Okay. Michael, you want to do Hamcation? Just as he sat there and put some combos in his mouth to eat. I always seem to wait till he gets food in his mouth and pass the microphone to him. Give him 1 second. He's washing it down.
All right, everybody hear me? All right, just to let everybody know, we are still looking for volunteers for Hamcation. Some key areas that really need volunteers right now is security. I know they need a lot. So if you are planning on signing up for Hamcation, please go on the website, sign up. I do know there's other areas that need help also. I believe IT still needs some help. I think, Mike, you still need some help at the prize and info booth. Friday and Sunday for that one. I know logistics will always take help for them. Hospitality usually can always use help. I believe RV is pretty much good. Tailgate's good right now. I think forums, are y'all good right now? Okay. I know transportation will need help. And of course, if you're a VE, I know Aaron and Val will need help also. So please, if you haven't volunteered, please do. Volunteering starts on Tuesday through Sunday. So if you can volunteer Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then you can still enjoy the show. A reminder, if you do volunteer 4 hours, you get a free ticket to Hamcation. And if you volunteer for 8 hours, we do feed you lunch for free. Also, if you keep track of all your hours, you can turn your hours toward a 501c3 of your choice. And that's how a lot of these local clubs get funded. At the end of Hamcation, we write the donation checks to everybody. Also, I am looking for still a few chairmen. The biggest one I'm looking for right now is a talk-in chairman. Somebody that pretty much knows Orlando, can keep track of the traffic, and then help set up and tear down the talk-in station, which will be in the security trailer here at the show, and be able to help run talk-in starting on Wednesday through Sunday. Talk-in starts on Wednesday and it goes all the way until Sunday when the show closes. And the biggest thing is just let people know, okay, especially the construction on I-4, if there's any type of issues with that, just keep track of the news. Also, people just ask questions, how to get here, best way, relay information about the show. Let's say if certain parking areas closed, you can direct them to a different parking area over the radio. So that's one that I'm really need. The other one is a publications chair that can help do the publications for Hamcation, especially the program that we do. So if you're interested in either of those, please contact me. Also, some things coming up. I will be on probably 6 different podcasts this month promoting Hamcation. We'll send out an email of the different dates. I will be on Ham Nation one night. I will be on Ham Talk Live. Also, actually, that one I'll be on once. Actually, Ham Talk Live is this Thursday. We will be announcing the winner of the Carol Perry Educator of the Year Award that night. I will be on W5KUB twice this month. I am on Ham Talk 2.0 with Jason also this month. And I am on with Tim Duffy with DX Engineering, his podcast that he does on Fridays once this month also. So I got a busy month to be on podcast, but promoting Hamcation to make it grow. I can let you know currently we're probably outpacing 2020 on sales. Even with the new variant out there, sales has not slowed down one bit. Every day we're getting people buying tickets, which is good. I just think people want to get out now. A lot of people's learning that you're going to have to live with this and live your life and still be able to do stuff. So a couple announcements also. One thing, ICOM is sponsoring picnic tables with picnic umbrellas, Adam. We have 10 of them. The umbrellas say ICOM, so they have sponsored that for us this year, which will be set up around Hamcation, mainly probably out here in the main part where all the food is. Also, ICOM is sponsoring our commercial radios for everybody that uses during Hamcation. Years past, I've always rented radios from a local company, and those were DMR radios. This year, they're actually going to be ICOM LTE radios. So pretty much they will work no matter what. They're on the LTE system. So ICOM is sponsoring that for us also, so we don't have to rent radios. We're currently working on all the prizes. We've had several people donate already and more stuff coming in. Also, if you're looking for a forum, the forums are live on the website. We are updating them as they come in of descriptions and stuff, but you go up there and check out the forums that are up there. There's a good list of them for Friday and Saturday. So if you have time and want to see an excellent forum, please go check it out. And don't forget also, it is the ARL National Convention. They will be doing their training tracks on Thursday. So if you're interested in that, you can go to ARL's website at arl.org/ARL Expo or Expo/Expo. There is also a link from our website. So if you're not volunteering, you want to check that out. There's going to be, you can choose from 4 different presentations or training tracks they're going to do. It's off-site from here at a local hotel by SeaWorld. So check that out. Also, we are going to be on Wednesday night. Joe Eisenberg is going to do a kick build on Wednesday night. Details are coming. What it's going to be. I know it's something interesting. Just making sure we can get the kits before I advertise it. But we will be doing some type of kit build. It will be Wednesday night. It will be in the Swaps building, probably starting around, I think we said 6 o'clock. But I'll put out more information once it's all confirmed on Wednesday night during Hamcation. Just a reminder, there is no meeting during Hamcation this year. It's actually the week prior to it. That's all I have. I know there's a lot more, but I could sit here and probably talk for hours.
Just to clarify one thing that Michael was saying too, so everybody understands, the forums are not going to be live streamed. The list of the forums are on the website, okay? So you just go to the website and you'll be able to see what the schedule is, which tent they're going to be in, what time they start, what day they are on, but they are not being live streamed, okay? So I just want to make sure it was just clear that when Michael said they're on the website, I want to make sure that everybody didn't think they're going to be live streamed.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that.
Is there a live
All right.
app for
Let me,
smartphones like we had a couple years ago?
Let me real quick, let me answer the question. I was talking without the microphone on. We're going to look at doing something like that maybe for next year, but because of between COVID and trying to, with the ARL, get everything going for the expo this year, we didn't have time to, do all that. So that is something we are looking to do. So things get taped for the future, okay? And more of that will come here soon, okay? As far as
And to answer your question, Fred, there is no app this year. Unfortunately, the company that ARL originally did this through, and that us and actually Dayton helped support, actually COVID pretty much put them out of business, so they were unable to support it anymore. I do know that ARL is looking at something for the future, but it will be a different company and we will not have it in time for this year.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
yeah, that's something that that app has actually been requested information on quite a bit this year. And we only just found out this information that wasn't going to be available around the first of the year. So we didn't even realize it until then. All right, let me go around to the board members real quick to see if they have any announcements they want to make, and then we'll do club updates. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll go into our presentation for this evening. Michael, did you have anything board related you want to talk about? Okay. Anna? Good. Bob, no, zero? Okay. Bob C? Oh, yes, let me actually mention that. So it's actually, everybody knows, testing for OERC, we always went through the ARL, which you had to pay the $15. From tonight forward, we're actually using Laurel, and there's no charge to do the testing. That doesn't include what the FCC will end up charging you in the future, but the test session will be free, okay? Good point, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me go, Ed, anything? Good. James? Good. Dean? Okay. Frank T? Board related?
He had to step away for a moment.
No problem, Sharon, thanks. All right, we can come back to him if he has something too. All right, let me go to clubs real quick. And first we'll go to QCWA. Rich.
All right. QCWA, we are absolutely pleased to be meeting in person, brick and mortar, whatever you want to call it now. No more Zoom. So our meeting is next Thursday. Well, it's a week from Thursday, so it's on the 13th. It's at 1 o'clock, so it's back to the luncheon format. And that kind of suited most everybody. And it's at the Perkins, which is on State Road 434. Or if I may explain that a little better, it's 2 doors down from HRO. So you know where to go. So you go to HRO, then you come to the meeting, and then you go back or something like that. So anyway, we're all excited. We have a nice room in Perkins. They're excited to have us there. So I'll send out a little president's message the next day or two just to remind everybody again. But if you're a QCWAer or a friend, we'd love to see you there. So it'll be a great time. We have a repeater and we have a net on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at 7:30, 147.195 and 103.5 is the tone. We usually have 8 or 9. We had 9 last night. It's a nice friendly little net, and it's really called an on the air meeting. but everybody's invited to that as well. One other thing that QCWA does, as you know, it's association of people that have been hams for more than 25 years. And I'm sure you've seen the pins. Of course, Al used to wear his QCWA pin all the time, probably to bed. And Al, if you hear me up there, you know it's true. Anyway, so those pins are kind of neat. And I think a lot of people join QCWA in hopes that they'll be getting a pin soon. But, usually they're 25-year pins and 30 and 40-year pins. And anyway, we have a pin tonight, though, that usually I don't present these here, but it's going to be a nice place to do that. We have a pin here for a ham that's been a ham for 65 years. 65 years. So this guy was a ham. He got his ham license when I was 3. And that's W2BZY. Bob, would you come up and receive your pin? Bob was telling me that he's been a ham for so long that the first time he did a mobile operation was on a horse. I better stand back. Bob, it's still in the bag there, but wear that with pride, my friend. You certainly earned it, and we're glad to have you wear it. 65. Did I make a mistake? 56 if you turn it over. That'll make you feel better.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Rich. Congratulations, Bob. Anybody from Lamar's want to give a quick update on Lamar's? Anybody on Zoom from Lamar's? Okay, Bob sat there and says that tomorrow night their meeting is on Zoom, not in person. So if you're planning on going to Lamar's meeting, it is on Zoom and not in person. All right, Cert Ham Radio Group. Oh, I'm still looking for Jerry. There you go. Come on up. Do you have anything about from Cert Ham Radio Group?
You need someone to talk on a microphone.
Just a second or two.
So CERT, Orlando CERT is basically the communication arm for basically the eyes and ears for the city of Orlando when it comes to, like, if a hurricane comes through, natural disaster comes through. We basically look around, eyes and ears for the city, any road blockage. We have a ham in the Orlando ZOC, so we can relay the information to them when the landlines overload and the cell phone networks overload. So we provide that opportunity. We usually meet during hurricane season, which starts in May. So probably our first meeting.
Typically it starts in June, but
June, May.
Start as early as May.
This is Florida. The rules are different here. And so we meet on the 14676 repeater. We still do our weekly check-ins on Wednesdays at 7. So if you want to tune in and listen, feel free and check in if you want, because hey, we'll be more than happy to have you.
All right, thank you. Anything from Clark County CERT? Any updates? You want to come up? I'm sorry, I can't do anything with the temperature in here. It's all locked out.
Warmer outside. We're working on a conference with the state. It'll be in September. Everybody's welcome. And we do our monthly meetings in Apopka at the Clark County Resorts, the 4th Monday of every month at 6:30. And you're all welcome to come there.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. CFRA, Robin. It's like passing the torch.
Oh, it's hot. Hey, it feels good. It's hot. Central Florida Repeater Association meets the last Wednesday of each month at Perkins, not the one by HRO, on University in Forsyth. Last Wednesday, because sometimes there's 5. We start gathering around 6 o'clock. Michael and John get there about 5 to make sure it's there. And we start having just buy your own food, have a little meal, and at 7 o'clock, we'll have a very short meeting. If it's more than 5 minutes, must be elections, you know. Repeater is 443.075 downtown Orlando. It's analog and fusion, standard PL 103.5. The website is the only thing that's really updated on the website is the membership list. It's mycfra.org. The president's message is probably about 5 or 6 years old. So that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, after that, we have radio scouting. Ken's frozen, so he'll come up.
Hi, everybody. So we have a Central Florida 100th anniversary for scouting in Florida. It's 1922. We have at least between 5 to 25,000 scouts coming in a 3-day weekend. That's going to be 13th, 14th, and 15th of May. Lake County is going to bring out 4 of their MCOM vehicles. We're going to try and bring out our 60-foot mobile mast, and this is our big field day and a nice big presentation to show all of these scouts. So our particular area will be having most of the older scouts, and then we also have about 2,000 of the younger scouts, which are from age 8 to 15 on those. That's it. So we need some more hams and volunteers. If anybody wants to bring a mobile station and show them CERT groups, this would be a great time for you guys. Just go set up a little demonstration of here's a mobile radio, a battery, coax, and antenna, and have them get on Simplex and talk to each other.
All right, Rod, are you on? Did you have anything for the Shriners Ham Radio Group?
No, we don't have anything, John. We haven't set a date yet for our tailgate, but it'll probably be the first or the second week of November, as it usually is. So it's a long way off yet. Right now, Hamcation's on our mind. So thank you very much, and y'all have a good meeting. I'm watching.
All right, thanks, Rod. Appreciate it. All right, Florida Week Signal. Anything from Florida Week Signal? George, I'm not seeing George online. Okay, AMSAT. Anybody from AMSAT? I see anybody from AMSAT? All right, Deers. All right, Lara or Lake Amateur Radio. Similarities. Going through the list here. Osceolaries. Okay, finally, last but not least, Orange County areas. We meet next Monday night at the Orange County EOC at 7 o'clock, and our topic is a couple different topics. There's going to be one of the big things we're going to be talking about is what to purchase or what you need to purchase at Hamcation for your Go kits or your kits. So we're going to go through that list. Get time to pick up all those supplies while you're at Hamcation. Coming up. So we'll go over those things for your radio kits and your Go kits and stuff. And there's a couple other things I know we're going to go over also. Off the top of my head, I can't think what they are. All right. So locally here at the fairgrounds, we're going to do a quick break. Refreshments are going to be served over there off to the side after we get back here. And I'm going to say we'll start about 15 minutes after 8. And we'll have our guest presenter. Ed is going to introduce them, but I can tell you it's Tim Deegan, KJ8U, and he's going to be talking about introduction to DMR. But Ed, you have a full introduction, okay? And so give us about 8:15, and we'll be back with everybody, okay? About 10 minutes. This is a good time for a coffee break for everybody. Okay, I'm showing about 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and we're going to get started again. All right, folks, we're going to get started. So everybody that's here at the fairgrounds, if you can have a seat, so we can get the show on the road here. I just also want real quick, a couple things I want to announce while everybody's taking their seats and everybody's coming back on Zoom. The November meeting that we had with Bob Heil. I know I had a couple of questions on why it wasn't up on YouTube. I got to do a little bit of editing to that file. And as soon as I get that editing done, I will get it back posted onto YouTube, YouTube, so everybody can watch it. And when I do that, hopefully here really soon, I'll get that done now that the holidays are over and some other little things going on and my personal life is kind of calmed down. I'll get that done and I'll put an email out to the club once it's done. So that one will be back up so everybody can watch it again. The other thing I just want to mention real quick, Ed came on board, Ed Thralls came on board to the board earlier last year. And Ed took up the responsibility of helping me get presenters for our club meetings. So Ed has put together a wide range of lined up presentations for this year for the club. If you want to know in advance what that presentation is, if you go to oerc.org on the front page, after midnight tonight, possibly Eastern time, maybe Pacific time. Okay, I'm not up that late usually at 3 o'clock in the morning. It flips from this month's presentation to next month's presentation. Will be listed on the website. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what it is, what time that happens. If you do it tomorrow morning when you wake up, it should be there, not a problem. If you want to wait and see exactly what time it is that it actually flips over, let me know. Then I'll know for sure. I'm not going to be up that late. All right. So, but I want to say thank you, a huge thank you to Ed for taking on that responsibility. And I think Ed, you've already got things lined up for almost most of this year and probably up through July. So, and then August, he's be lined up things from August to December or August to November because since we don't normally have a December meeting. So, but I just want to say a huge thank you for doing that. So you ready to present or introduce, I should say?
Got it. I don't know if you can see me, Tim, but this is the first time we can see each other. We've exchanged email for a couple of times, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And I've gotten information off of your QRZ page and a few other things. I'm going to say a few nice things about you. Be careful. Tim KJ8U got his technician license in 1995 and then upgraded to general and extra in 2020. And he works mostly digital modes. Every now and then he actually gets to talk to people. Tim has learned DMR, digital mobile radio, radio, with Jesus System Fusion and his configuration of the Titera dual band DMR radio and the Pi-Star hotspot connected to a Brandmeister digital repeater network via DMR gateway. And I hope we'll learn what all some of those things mean by the time we finish this presentation. Tim likes to make things. He's been working on designing and printing a manual tripod mount for working low Earth orbit hamsats. And he likes to try new things and learn new things. He's a career troubleshooter. He designs, writes, and debugs code to pay the bills. Tim has climbed antenna towers, wrecked motorcycles, learned to parasail, and jumped out of a perfectly good airplane more than once. Tim recently had fun doing a very high-level presentation for the awesome ARRL Learning Network. And if you don't join in on some of those things, I encourage you to do that. I've done several. And this presentation there was Introduction to DMR and Digital Voice Technologies. And it is our program this evening and hopefully a useful starting place for information about this exciting aspect of amateur radio. Tim, take it away.
Are you hearing well? You got audio?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm Tim Deegan. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm originally a Florida boy from North Florida, but I certainly have spent a lot of time in the Orlando area, so it's nice to visit with hams down there. The ARRL saw an article that I wrote for Make Magazine. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's a magazine dedicated to crafting, tooling, building, breaking, discovering things. And I write for them fairly frequently and have for a number of years. Recently, I've started writing a number of articles on ham radio for them because I feel like that audience is really well suited to, join forces or be, at least get licensed in the ham radio environment. So I wrote an article about DMR in Make Magazine, and ARRL asked me if I would turn it into a short presentation in the Learning Network. It was a great experience. I encourage everybody, I can't imagine how many people in your club have knowledge that would be great to pass on. Working with the ARRL, it's all volunteer. It's a lot of fun. They're really nice, and it's a great opportunity to meet and engage with hams all over the country that way. So let's jump into the presentation. This is the same presentation with a few little tweaks that I gave to the ARRL. What we're going to try and learn today is, let's see if you guys are getting you guys are not getting my updated screen. Let me change over and share screen here because it doesn't look like you're getting updates as I change slides. Pardon me, technical challenges. And Zoom, share screen. And hopefully you are now seeing my presentation. We're going to learn basics. I'm going to tell you that digital voice, which constitutes DMR, system fusion, and a wide range of other technologies, is one of those things in ham radio that has unplumbed depths. I mean, every single slide, every single thing we're going to talk about, we could do a 3-day class on. I'm not the deepest expert in it. My enthusiasm for it primarily has to do with getting people excited enough to start out with it, because I think it has some distinct advantages that we'll talk about for certain aspects of ham radio and certain hams who would like to do more than they're currently able. So that was a wonderful introduction, and it basically covered all the essential things about me. But the bottom line is that I like to write. I like to share the things I get excited about. I get excited about an awful lot of things. I'm a maker. I I like to build things to go with ham radio. I like to make antennas. I like to make specialty mounts for things. I like to make brackets. I do a lot of CNC, plasma cutting, things like that. I am more of a digital guy than a talker. Sometimes I think there are propagation hams and conversation hams. I'm more about propagation. I'm really into the HF frequency band more than anything else. And I'm one of the people destroying ham radio with FT8 and absolutely loving it. DMR and digital voice is, as it gains traction, going to be yet another topic that people are going to discuss as the death of the future of ham radio. And I couldn't disagree more. And I hope maybe we can have a good discussion about that. So what's in it for hams? Why use the internet to do a QSO? I mean, that's really what struck me as a confusing aspect of the whole concept. I really didn't understand what the value proposition was to do, you know, like a VHF UHF connection to a Raspberry Pi and then have the rest of the traffic go over the internet. I really kind of felt like the radio was superfluous in that. Why not just use the computer? And that's still an interesting question, but I think it's the kind of question that leads into some of the exciting parts of what digital voice and DMR. I'm going to use the term DMR more than I'm going to use digital voice because it's the one I'm most familiar with. But if you're doing Yaesu System Fusion, and I caught one of the repeaters in one of the clubs locally is a Yaesu System Fusion repeater, the fundamentals are all essentially the same. So here's what I think's in it for hams. One, crystal clear worldwide QSOs. Now, I said a moment ago that I'm more of a propagation ham than a conversation ham. You know, I don't talk to people as much as I spend time in ham radio trying to DX and trying to, you know, digital mode out to some remote part of the world, which I adore. But I will tell you, as I'm sure you're all aware, the cost of entry to do that, especially in the HF bands, is pretty intimidating. And when I look around my shack and I think, well, if I was wanting to start out from scratch, if I was a, you know, young 20-something person interested in ham radio and excited by some of what I've seen, you know, what's my cost of entry? And sure, I could go buy a vintage older radio and I could make myself a dipole. I could probably get up in the air. You know, if you're thinking, I mean, most hams, I mean, how many hams have IC 7300s these days? I mean, that's like the standard. And working digital modes and some of the common modes now is so different on that than it is on my older radios that cost of entry hits 4 figures at a minimum very quickly. And that is exclusionary. The cost of entry into ham radio is a barrier and one of the significant barriers that should be discussed whenever we talk about why aren't more young people getting into ham radio. For the cost of a small handheld, the TYT MD380 being the most common, which ranges in price from $60 to $90 depending on where you're buying it. And then that may be all you need. If you're in an environment that locally has a repeater that is a DMR repeater, then you're good to go. But even if you need to spend a little bit more, a hotspot locally in your house or your apartment or your high-rise condo in downtown where there's no chance at all of putting up any kind of significant big antenna, which if you're buying the hotspot from scratch with no other existing parts is going to be about 80 to 120. You can do it significantly less. You can buy a hat for an existing Raspberry Pi, and you can spend considerably more than that as well. But for well under $200, you can start talking to people around the world, and it's crystal clear. There's no, listening through the ether and trying to suss something out of the noise. I think there are a lot of people, as I talk to folks at maker fairs, which are events that occur around the world that I'm very involved in, who would like to do ham radio, but they live in an apartment, they live in a house with roommates, they live in HOAs, they live in places where antennas are really limited. And you might be able to, hang a small mag loop or something on the balcony, but the reality of it is that compared to somebody who can put a big Yagi on a rotator, they're just not out there. And sure, we talk about you can get into ham radio with a lot of older gear and smaller things, but when you're out there and you see who's using up the spectrum in a given band, there's an awful lot of big amps and big antennas. Nothing against my QRP brethren. I love QRP. But QRP is a lousy way to make an entree into ham radio, in my opinion. And the reality is that it's a great thing to pursue once you've gotten an enthusiasm for it, but it's a difficult thing to get the excitement of ham radio into your blood with, I think. That's a debatable topic, I agree. So what else it is enhanced? Tech license. Unless you're in a UHF, VHF repeater environment that is networked out, which typically those are regional or possibly national, worldwide contacts. I mean, picking up a radio, turning it on, and instantly having a crystal clear conversation with somebody in Indonesia just isn't an option for a tech licensed person, an entry level license. And yet in the digital voice, in DMR, in Yaesu System Fusion, that's the common experience. That's the entry experience for people. And I think it's really, really engaging. I also want to say, and I don't know how familiar some of you folks will be with this, but a lot of things like this have been tried on the internet and failed, some spectacularly. There was a program whose name is now a joke in many circles called Chat Roulette. And Chat Roulette was a system that basically connected you with some random person on the internet, in a video call. And when it first came out, everybody was very excited about this, ability just to talk to strangers, which has a lot in common with the ham experience. And there is something exciting about meeting new people and hearing people from different countries and different parts of the United States. But Chat Roulette rapidly disintegrated into a horror show of scary people, bad situations, and things, you would never encourage a family member to do. And it became a joke. Ham radio, and I'm going to use another term that can be very challenging for many people, but in this case, I think it's very good, and it's gatekeeping. The reality is when you get on a QSO on ham radio, they're not going to try and sell you anything. And you got a pretty good idea that you've got something in common with them. I mean, you're both hams. You both bothered to get licensed. And, the conversation isn't going to get terribly weird. I mean, not everybody on ham radio agrees with everybody else, but it doesn't get, terribly inappropriate in most cases, like things on the internet that have attempted similar experiences have. So in this case, there's a really well-established open access gatekeeping. I mean, the ability to get ham radio license in the United States, especially with the online testing that's occurring now, I don't think it's ever been easier. I think that we should be seeing explosions in ham radio license, and in many cases we did during the last 2 years of COVID. I think there's a lot of momentum there, as long as there's something interesting for people to do and get engaged and get excited. So I think that DMR and digital voice plays a really important role in a segment of the population, the urban population, the young population, the folks without a lot of disposable income, to get in and start feeling some of that thrill you feel when you talk to somebody and realize, wow, this person's in Yugoslavia, but we have a lot in common. This is interesting. Who else could I talk to? So I think that when we talk about how do we get more new young people into ham radio, this plays a role. There's another aspect of that I think is important as well. Ham radio has always been about experimentation. Ham radio has led the way on a number of significant technologies over its lifespan. A lot of young people have backgrounds or experience or skills in software development, the Linux operating system, internet technologies, and are eager to find new places to apply those skills. I spend a lot of time on open source projects contributing to various pieces of software, and it's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. Because so much of what goes on in digital voice, in DMR and other technologies is mediated by the internet. I mean, there are real opportunities for new explosive growth, new applications, new exciting things to occur that folks can bring their existing skills to. And I think that's got to be in the package of things that gets offered in New Hams. You know, you're going to learn new things, you're going to get excited by new people and new technologies, but the skills you bring are also going to add value to the hobby. So I believe that there is a big segment that I meet through the Maker Faire community and else and the open source communities who would find that a really exciting way to contribute to the hobby. So, you know, I think that that's really the range of it. What's going to happen? I mean, besides this, I've noticed that there's a significant amount of Ares and Mars activity and disaster activity that is utilizing the DMR and Yaesu System Fusion environments as well, D-Star as well, because it is a very clear channel. And the internet was originally built to be, you know, nuclear war-proof. It was designed to route traffic around breakages so that problems that emerged in the network were compensated for by the algorithms that move traffic from one side to the other. And that's part of what goes on in the whole environment. Analog voice that would be broadcast through a standard UHF, VHF, or HF type radio is translated, it's converted through an analog to digital conversion process into digital data. And once it's digital, a whole bunch of interesting things can happen with it. There are a lot of advantages once you digitize audio. One, it takes a lot less bandwidth, and you can start doing some interesting divisions, that is sharing. And there's TDMA, which is a time domain sharing, which means you take the time and you slice it in two, and you can do two channels on what were originally one channel. There's also frequency slicing that lets you use a frequency split to do the same thing. But the takeaway is that digital transmissions are much more respectful of bandwidth limitations than analog. There's also the opportunity to do error correction because the digital voice or audio is packetized. That is, it's broken into little chunks of data that are all sent out, not necessarily in order. The whole way the internet works is that once you've taken a YouTube video and you've digitized it, or you're watching Netflix or you're listening to Spotify, it takes the file of that original media and it sends it over the internet in gazillions of packets that are all sent at the same time. Not every packet takes the same route to you. Some packets might go by one path and other packets by another path, and they can be reassembled. And the value is that those packets have a little bit of extra data, something called metadata, that allows them to be checked. Did they get corrupted? If so, you know it's not good. Did they get put back together in the right order? You know, that helps as well. And what this gives is the ability to do, you know, forward error correction, which looks ahead to make sure that you're getting everything in the right order, and then cyclic redundancy checking, which basically says this packet that you're getting has not been corrupted, the bits are all correct. And it may be that you don't get all of the packets, but the system is able to reassemble enough of the signal to be able to give you a high fidelity experience, even without 100% of the original signal. It doesn't come across like static. It comes across sometimes a little glitchy. You've seen YouTube or Netflix glitch on you, but most of the time, the speeds that the internet operates at now allow for, you know, packets to make it through multiple routes and be put back together in time for you to get a good signal at the end. Management and routing, the last bullet I have here, Internet Protocol IP is the mechanism by which the traffic does that pathing. How does it go from point A to point B across the internet? And that's a fascinating topic all in and of itself. And the takeaway here is that it's prepared to route itself around problems. And that's something, I mean, if you're trying to, you know, make a triple bounce ionospheric hop from Orlando to Israel, and there's static or there's a geomagnetic storm, or it's the wrong time of day, or any of the other things that can make propagation a dicey or ineffectual experience. IP, the internet protocol, is designed to say, well, I'll just find another way. It's as if it can automatically switch bands to the right band, find the best band that's working with the right propagation path, check it for you, and come back and reroute your traffic there, automatically doing it, millions of times a second so that you never notice it. So all of these pieces come together to take what works really amazingly in the internet experience we live in today of Netflix and YouTube and Spotify, and applies it to an aspect of ham radio. A lot of people have been trying this for a while, and there are a variety of technologies involved in that are available to hams. There's digital mobile radio, usually referred to as DMR. It has a coding scheme called AMBI +2. It has a modulation scheme of 4 FSK, and it has a multiplex scheme of TDMA. Basically, those aren't things that anybody particularly ever has to worry about if you just want to go use it. But it's interesting in that the AMBI part, the coding, that's what distinguishes a handheld or a bench radio that can do Yaesu system fusion or do DMR or D-Star, and one that can't. It's got a chip in it. It's got a vocoder chip that can take the audio coming in and do that analog to digital conversion into a special coded format that can then be sent out over the internet. Without that, a regular handheld that you're using isn't able to use the digital network environment. 4FSK is a special type of frequency shift keying. I'm sure you're familiar with that from other types of digital modes that are out there. TDMA is the time sliced mechanism. We'll look a little bit more at that. That just basically puts two channels on one by alternating them in time, and it happens so fast you can't notice. That's why most of the radios you'll get will have a channel A and channel B. They can switch back and forth. There's also D-Star. There's also Yaesu System Fusion. There's a few others. There's APCO P25, which is in use in places. P25, if you're a scanner enthusiast these days, any of the type of trunk radio environments that most emergency services are using is some variation on P25 or something close to it. My old scanners that I had for years don't do me any good at all anymore in police, fire, or emergency services. I had to get a couple of SDRs and hook them up and get software to decode P25 as they hop frequencies. There's also interesting opportunities going on. I mean, this list, when you list out all of them, is 10 to 12 different types of things. These are probably the largest. FreeDV is a really interesting product that is an open source free piece of software that is actually doing digital voice over HF, which has a lot of exciting possibilities there as well. It's not as broadly used as the Yaesu System Fusion or digital mobile radio, but it is an exciting opportunity to get some of the clarity even on a really weak connection overseas. So the pieces and parts that make it all work really have three pieces, three components, three sections, if you will. They have the radio, and the radio's job is to capture and digitize the voice. It's to turn it from an analog signal into a digital signal, and it does that via the vocoder chip that's inside using advanced multiband excitation. I mean, as the years go by, we're going to see lots of opportunities for different vocoder technologies, different digitizers. This one, DMR, came out of a commercial background, and it's when you buy the TYT MD80 or you buy another DMR radio, they have a ton of features on them that are really seem almost bizarre. There's the ability to like remotely wipe a set of radios, and there's just a whole bunch of features that were commercial features of DMR that hams don't use very much, but really show its legacy even in the ham radio versions that we get today. Now, when you're talking with that radio, you have to talk to something that can get that digitized voice to the internet, and that's a gateway. And there's two types. There's repeaters, which most of us would be familiar with in the UHF, VHF world, and repeaters that are set up by clubs or other organizations can include, a YSF connection or a DMR connection or a D-Star connection. I mean, they're able to do that. We have one here in Austin. It's nowhere near as enjoyable to use as running my hotspot. And that's the other type. And a hotspot, I'm going to say hyper local, because these are typically, I mean, there's a lot of ones you can buy, but the most common one are these MMDVMs, the multi-mode digital voice modems. It's an open source hardware, open source software. And when I say open source, I mean that you can get the actual code and read it yourself, which may not seem very exciting unless you want to be a developer, in which case it's terribly exciting because you can make modifications to it and offer those back to the community or use them just for yourself. It means that that software is constantly advancing as long as there's people, at least developers, interested in it. The MMDVM typically is what they call a hat in the Raspberry Pi world. And if you're not familiar with Raspberry Pi, it's a tiny, tiny little computer, just about the size of a credit card, or some of the versions, especially the ones used in hotspots, are even half the size of a credit card or a business card. And it's got a little plug-in top, and the plug-in top is the MMDVM hat. And that hat has a little bitty radio transceiver on it that has, a few milliamps of power. I mean, couple of watts max. It's really designed to work around your house. The one I have here in my shack, which other people might call my garage, is able to, reach almost about a block down the street before it's really, losing a lot of punch. But it works all over my property. It works all over my house. You can add a hat to an existing Raspberry Pi, or you can buy one that comes all in a nice little box with a little screen and antenna, and you just plug it in and configure it and it works. There's also the Shark RF open spot. There's a whole bunch of other models that offer value add in terms of performance, power, complexity of use, or I should say ease of use. But to be honest with you, one of the things we're going to talk about is ease of use is not a term that's easily applied to anything in DMR or system fusion or any of that. But the last part is the network, because once the gateway passes that digital voice, it doesn't just toss it into the internet and hope and pray that it works. It passes it to a specific network that then routes it around. It might pass it to the DMR mark. It might pass it to the Phoenix, UK. Brandmeister is one of the biggest and most popular worldwide. There's a variety of others though, and everybody's free to set up their own. So these can emerge from anywhere. Brandmeister, you can see at the bottom of the picture, has repeaters or hotspots, or people are engaged with it, as it will, all over the world, as does DMR. So I find that typically it helps to go with the biggest initially, simply because that's the easiest to find support for. So DMR working on a MMDVM hotspot, talking to Brandmeister, is going to give you the best possible chance of finding helpful support on the internet. And that may be one of the best reasons to go that direction. It's not a reason not to go other directions, YSF or something like that. It's just one of the things to keep in mind is that you are going to spend a lot of time trying to hunt down YouTube videos and find obscure web pages that describe how to do things like just change the channel on the radio, which is weirder in DMR than it is in any other kind of technology I've ever used. A diagram for those of you who love diagrams. I'm a diagram person. You got the radio. It talks to the hotspot talks to the ISP and internet, but we've gone over all that, so I'm not going to belabor this. Now, once you're actually using the radio, we're trying to set it up, you get to have the joy of configuring code plugs. Now, as much enthusiasm as I have for digital voice and DMR, the reality is that it has the usability of Linux with the robustness of a Yugo car. It's just, it's appalling the state of the art in user interface and configuration. This has been done by, joyful amateurs, and it shows. It doesn't mean it's unusable. It just means that it can be very frustrating, and you just have to take deep breaths as you work through your code plug, which is the configuration that's being passed the radio. And the code plug contains everything from, the setup on the radio, which has your call sign in it, to what talk groups you're going to talk to or want to be able to talk on. It also, most of the radios that do DMR also work very well as a dual band handheld. So you can still hit normal repeaters on them, though it's not anything like setting up a repeater on Chirp, which is very straightforward, a single line of things. Here, it's much more complicated. But code plugs have a lot of information in them, the most important of which is the talk group. And the talk group is really what digital voice, the Yaesu System Fusion or DMR, is all about. The talk group is like a party line. So if you go talk to, if you pick a talk group, and we'll look at a little bit more at what some of the talk groups are like, and you have it on your radio set up, you're going to hear everybody who's talking on this. And, it's like being on a net on any kind of, 2 meter or 440 or that kind of environment. But it is crystal clear, and there's thousands and thousands of talk groups. Think of them as party lines. They're not necessarily equivalent to channels, because channels are a term that is used as a grouping of talk groups. And channels are usually pretty idiosyncratic. And by that, I mean the channels I set up on my radio, which is a collection of talk groups, would be different than somebody else would use on their radio, unless we're sharing the same code plug. Channels can be grouped into zones and so forth. I mean, typically you don't get too much worse than that, though there are scan groups and a whole bunch of other things that also impact how the radio is set up. Ultimately, you can just set up talk groups as contacts and switch between them that way. I tried using a whole bunch of pre-built code plugs because I felt like that was going to be the best way to start out. Find one that somebody else had made and just use it. I found that baffling. It didn't work for me at all. I then took the opposite approach of starting from scratch and building my own code plug one group at a time, and that gave me a much better understanding. So if you have somebody who's successful locally that you know and can talk to and are using the same type of radio, they could share their code plug, and that would be a great way to get started. If you're trying to get one off the internet that's from a different region that has talk groups you're not interested in and groups and zones and scan lists, it's not always the easiest way to go forward. So talk groups, because that's sort of the heart of the matter. Brandmeister is the biggest or second biggest or way up there. It's the one I use. And talk groups are organized, and like talk groups 1 to 90 are local. They're typically set up for repeaters and things to use locally. Talk group 91 and above are the ones that are the party lines shared by people around the world. Talk group 91, often referred to as TG 91, is the worldwide talk group. And if I turn on my radio right now that's on TG 91, usually there's people talking 24. So that was somebody starting their call sign, and QSOs go the same way they sound on HF or VHF or UHF. So there's nothing abnormal about the QSO itself. But worldwide, I mean, you just say your call sign, and you can say CQ if you want. It's more like VHF, UHF than HF in that regard. And somebody will answer, and that person might be 2 blocks away. That person might be in Uzbekistan. And I've just had so many wonderful conversations with people all over the world on the Worldwide Talk Group, but it is very busy. 93 is North America. And as you drill down in the list, 3112 is Florida as a whole. 31124 was the closest I could find to Orlando as a group, Southeast Florida. But there's also special interest talk groups. There's Pi-Star Chat. There's talk groups about cooking. There's talk groups. It's like, forums on the internet, but for voice. There's lots of different specialty groups. Most people that I interact with tend to use regional type ones, but there's club ones. There's all kinds of things like that. On repeaters usually set it up with dynamic and static talk groups. And static means it's there, it's always there. So this is a repeater we have here in Austin from one of the clubs. The repeater is N50AK. It's got a static talk group that's always on, which is the Texas. And then it has the dynamic talk group. So if I go to the dynamic, if I'm on the TS1 side, so remember we have the split that I talked about earlier, it's time split. We can have two on a single channel. So if I go to TS1, I can get to the dynamic talk group and I can key in any talk group around. I can go to the worldwide, I can go to Pi-Star Chat, as long as somebody else isn't using the static talk group. If I don't key in a different talk group, I'm going to talk on the static group. And as long as somebody keeps talking on the static group, I can't key into another talk group somewhere else. This is why using repeaters can be a little frustrating, because if you want to bop around and try a bunch of different talk groups all over the world, it's typically more oriented to giving you the static value. It's giving you a gateway to other ones, but it's less easy to play than it is on a hotspot. And then talk group 2 on the other side is a local cluster of a set of repeaters. So it's actually acting as a repeater bridge through a set of other repeaters here locally. Pi-Star is again open source, meaning free and free to change the code yourself if you so wish, or somebody else can. This is the single most common tool used in hotspots. Pi-Star has many screens. Pi-Star has many confusing options. Confusing also means powerful most of the time, but that doesn't get away from the fact that trying to figure out what you're doing on it can take a little bit of investment of time and effort. One of the things that's exciting about this, however, is that using Pi-Star, which is the software that's running on the hotspot, allows you to do bridges. So for instance, I have a DMR radio. I'm talking to my hotspot. My hotspot is set up to have a DMR to YSF bridge, which means I can go to a specific range and talk to the Yaesu system fusion talk groups, even though I'm on DMR. And a lot of environments like Brandmeister and other areas have this ability to bridge between the different digital voice environments. So just because you buy DMR does not mean you're unable to use the other environments. Yaesu System Fusion and DMR are both well integrated together. So there are a lot of opportunities there. And Pi-Star provides some other opportunities for bridges to other environments as well. But Pi-Star supports DMR, D-Star, System Fusion, V25, NXDN, and is constantly being upgraded to offer new and different opportunities as well. So this also, it gives you the ability to watch and see what people are doing in their in the channel that you're monitoring at this time. It lets you see the local activity. It gives you an idea of your power levels, so you can tell if your antenna is set up correctly. It does a whole bunch of different things that are super useful. It's a pretty exciting piece of free software. I mean, it's the kind of thing that commercially would cost a lot of money to buy. So it's always very exciting. And you see, it's got my old original call sign KC5QFG up there. That's where I started out. I put together a set of links that I'll be happy to share. I'll send this whole presentation to the group as well. But these are some great links for getting started of places to go. You can build your own digital hotspot. You can go in working on alternatives to DMR and YSF. You can download PyStar. GitHub is the repository that holds all the code, and you can make changes. And whether you want to change the color scheme or you want to have PyStar be able to talk to Echolink, and that's the code you want to write, all these opportunities are available to folks. And I think while that's, that's not exciting to me, it is exciting to a lot of other folks out there in the world. So that's one of the reasons I think there are opportunities out there in ham radio that digital voice and DMR and YSF really offer to the world. At this point, I've given a broad introduction to a wide range of things. I think I've offered unlimited opportunities for confusion and directions to go. Are there any questions that people have that I might be useful in answering?
Anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay, Tim, you did a great job then.
I lulled them to sleep for you.
And again, I want to thank you for taking your time to join us here at OARC. And if you're in the area in early February, stop by Hamcation. If you volunteer for 4 hours, we'll get you a free ticket. So thanks again. I really appreciate your time. And if you want to send me a copy of that presentation, I'll share it with the club.
Will do. Thank you very much. 73 to everybody.
73.
So it seems to me like the thing to do would be to work on your code plug together, have a group.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for the free presentation. Almost to the end of our meeting tonight. And in my trying to run out the door and take care of a bunch of errands before coming to the fairgrounds today, I ran out the door without the prizes. So what we're going to do is a little something different tonight. And since Hamcation is right around the corner, those of you guys that are here and that got a ticket in the bucket, we're going to give 3 winners 2 tickets each to Hamcation. Okay, you're probably saying, well, I'm volunteering, or I'm a volunteer already, or I'm a chairman, or whatever. Use them as prize entries. Another ticket in the barrel. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So, which I apologize for running out the door without the prizes today, but try and mix them up good here. All right, first ticket winner, 1481301, or last 4 digits, 1301. Anybody? Going once? You got it? 1301? James got it. Well, it gives you extra tickets in the barrel. 1301. There you go. There's 2 tickets. You just put that over here. There we go. That way I don't draw it again by mistake. Somehow it ends up back in the bucket. All right, next one. 1295. Last 4 digits, 1295. 1295. Ah, there you go. And 2 tickets for you from our escapee from California. All right. All right. Last one is 1291. 1291. The cold lady. The lady wrapped up in a blanket, jacket, gloves, and everything. There you go. 2 tickets. There you go, Christy. Thanks. All right, guys, that is it for this evening. Thank you for coming out. For those of you who came out to the fairgrounds, thank you for those that are on Zoom or YouTube. This presentation will be available on YouTube. If you go to the OARC YouTube channel. You can go back and watch it anytime. And appreciate it. And don't forget, next month, the meeting will be here at the fairgrounds almost a week and